these truths to be self-evident that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by the Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, that to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from consent of the governed, that whenever any form of government becomes destructive of these ends, it is the right of the people to alter or to abolish it, and to institute new government, laying its foundation on such principles and organizing its powers in such form as to them shall seem most likely to affect their safety and happiness. Prudence indeed will dictate that governments long established should not be changed for light and transient causes, and accordingly, all experience has shown that mankind are more disposed to suffer while evils are sufferable than to right themselves by abolishing the forms to which they are accustomed. But when a long train of abuses and usurpations, pursuing invariably the same object, evinces a design to reduce them under absolute despotism, it is their right, it is their duty to throw off such government and to provide new guards for their future security. The world is waking up, and this is the tipping point.
Ladies and gentlemen, Scott McKay coming to you live from Dallas, Texas. Welcome to tonight's show. This is the tipping point, the high-octane, full-throttle truth hammer part on the warfare platform of Revolution Radio, my platform of choice to conduct this war that has been going on for quite some time. Certainly from the radio side, we are coming up on 5 years old this month coming up. And it's been a hell of a ride. The reason I have so much love for Revolution Radio is I have endured here 39 YouTube channels taken down, censoring on other platforms. The only reason that people said to me early on, hey, man, you got a huge platform and Patriot, Street Fighter, et cetera. Why are you wasting time on the radio, Revolution Radio? I'm like, are you kidding me? Well, first of all, loyalty has something. I have something to say about loyalty in this world. It's an indispensable quality. This is where I started. It gave birth to Patriot, Street Fighter, and we shall always be here for that reason alone. Not only the fact that I can be here and say what needs to be said without being censored or taken down. The simple fact is this platform existed a long, long time before I even came on. Thank goodness Nighthawk, who was a consummate badass, who started this channel, this platform, talking like I do 15 years ago. And so here we are. I want to thank all the people out there who have supported this network. As I said before, this is a labor of love. I don't get paid to do this. There are people behind the scenes with Revolution Radio that don't get paid either. The reason we survive and this exists is because of you, we the people. This is a we the people operation. You and your donations have what has kept this alive and expanded it. And if you haven't seen any of the other shows on here, certainly look in both studios A and B. There's an extraordinary amount of content and people that really push the boundaries, trying to break through the satanic veil that has educated humanity inside of a matrix that does not even exist, a reality that doesn't exist, a reality that has massively limited our Christ consciousness powers of manifestation. And we're here, obviously, we pulled the veil back and then we threw it into an Asplin wood chipper. It's gone now. You can tell that the world is changing very rapidly. People are starting to see, those who are, the Walking Dead are finally starting to wake up, primarily because of platforms like this. So if you would like to support Revolution Radio, you can see right there on the website, it's freedomslips.com or revolution.radio. At the top, you can click the donate button. You can make a single donation. You can make a donation, set it up one time to have it donate every single month. You can send a check in the mail if you'd like. You can see at the top of the page there. One of the producers, Terry Ackerman, lives in Ohio. If you want to send a snail mail check like my dad did when he used to watch this show, he would write it out to Revolution Radio and send it into Terry Ackerman. I know you can donate cryptocurrency, Bitcoin. I don't know a lot about crypto. I've avoided it for 4 or 5 years now, but you can donate cryptocurrency. So aside from that, we got a great show tonight. Obviously, we are live streaming on Facebook because Patriot.tv, who actually sets up this show for me, for the streaming side, production side, we have two productions going on here. Revolution Radio and the tipping point here is the primary production. We just have to live stream it to Patriot.tv. We also, Patriot.tv produces the live stream side of it, and they live stream it to my Rumble channel. It's the primary channel where people see all of my work. Actually, if you want to watch that side of it, you can always go to PSF for Patriot Street Fighter, although Street Fighter is one word for trademark reasons, but it is PSF rumble.com, psfrumble.com to watch the streaming side, all the video work we do. Of course, we're on multiple platforms, Brighteon, BitChute, and our work has been lifted by over 100 platforms and put on their channels as well. So you can pretty much bump into our mission anywhere you go online these days. The great guests we have back tonight, we have JP, the Secret Space Program whistleblower. We also have Dr. Michael Salla from Exopolitics. Dr. Michael Salla has been on the front lines of the issue of non-terrestrial life and activity, UFO activity, etc., for a very long time, helping expose to the world the hidden manifestations of this global Khazarian mob, the satanic order, who has blocked everything, including 6,000 patents that could change humanity literally within 18 months if we had access, but they classify everything under national security directives to keep that technology from coming out, although they do use this stuff off planet. Another sensational viewpoint that many people still actually walk away from because they're not prepared to absorb the information, and to no fault of their own. We have been programmed in the Matrix. Like Keanu Reeves said, Matrix wasn't a movie, it was a documentary. And that's simply a fact. I'm going to grab a link here and I'm going to send it over to Dr. Salla because I see he's sitting in the waiting room. And just in case he wants to, trying to find a reply box here. There we go. Let me send this reply. If you want your audience to watch, they can go here. Forgot to send that out and paste. All right, sent that over to them right now in case they want to send it out to their audience so they can watch it live. You know, I monitor multiple things here. So you see me getting tripped up, falling on top of my feet. It's because I am the consummate unprofessional here because, you know, I just kind of fly by the seat of my pants, as most of you know. And so I got many things happening on my screen all at the same time. And I like to try to do things on the run because also I like to set the example for all of you out there. You can make big changes in the world yourself if you do not worry about what you look like while you're doing it, what people think of you. Many of us are hamstrung by that. I was hamstrung basically from the time I was young to probably in my, I don't know, late 40s, I guess, to 50 years old. We overcame that once I had to climb out of that grave and learn to walk again, get over paralysis, and you know, be destroyed and find a way back. And when you go through things in life, unfortunately, it's too bad we have to, but that helped rip the cover off the ball and allow us to hang things out there that we should have been hanging out there for a long time, and we didn't. So I like the hit and run offense because I think it really works. So run and shoot to show people you do not need perfectionism to get the job done. I have a standard of excellence. I don't expect perfection, but I do expect excellence. And anybody can do that operating to your highest standards. But, you know, there's some things going on in the world today that we're going to talk about that leans into what we're doing tonight. And I've got something here that I actually want to show you. And I am not sure that I can actually make this work. One of the show notes that I wanted to bring up today, in fact, I got a commentary here. I'm going to see if there's a way I can open this up in an email. But I want to show this to Dr. Michael Salla, and I want to get his viewpoint on this. And whenever he does come on, but I was on a channel just before this particular show, right before this, with Lewis Harms, and they'd asked me a question.
Right. So I don't know if you've noticed this, right?
See if we can stop that. That's the one I want to bring up. They asked me a question, and I answered it, and I want to take that question and bring it here tonight because I answered it for them. And the question is, can't remember the question. I just remember the answer. However, Bruce Poppy asked me a question about, I mentioned that there needs to be an evolution in the podcast world moving forward. And that evolution is critical for us getting down to the business of why we're here, driving our spiritual ascension, stratospheric, vertical. It's the only reason we're here, our spiritual ascension experience. And we have got to, me, Scott McKay, have got to transition from warfare mode without giving up, warfare completely, but get out of nothing but warfare mode and start transitioning into, now that the Great Awakening is underway, start transitioning into the message that's going to carry this planet into its new realm, the fourth density, the fifth dimension. The Earth is moving into position to transition from third density, which is what we are. If you look at animals, you're talking a second density being. If you look at cockroaches or bugs, whatever, it's a first density spiritual being that has to go through evolutions and learning until they hit the next density upward. And, we are at the third density here in this realm as in the human species, moving into the fourth density as the Earth transitions with or without us. If we have to be at the higher level of the third density consciousness to survive the transition. If we aren't, then once this body breaks down, whenever it does, and our soul moves on, it was here for a time, it learned, and the learning will continue. So it's going to come back into another third density dimension experience. It's not going to be back to this planet, unfortunately, because this planet moved into fourth density, and you can't survive the transition if you're not close to that. And those who aren't there yet, and it's not a caste system. These people are, these people aren't. We are all on a track, and it doesn't matter if there are people that are further behind than others. That's not the point. There's no race here. We all went through the same transition track. So that being said, to usher that in, that higher, that growing consciousness before the Earth moves into fourth density, I don't even know what that looks like. I just see a split, two Earth splits. Here's a third density version. Here's a fourth density version. Different timeline. It's the only way timeline is not a good word. It's just my word to help you try to understand that. By the way, Dale Carpentier asked, why am I not on Rumble? Because Patriot TV is off for the holidays, and they're the ones that stream it to my Rumble channel. I'm going to grow up soon, and I'm going to become real professional, and I'm going to learn some of the platforms like StreamYard so I can stream it to my Rumble channel myself. I've just been on the run for 4 years now, traveling the country and other things, where sitting down and learning all these things technically, which aren't a big deal. It's just the time and the choice of where I want to spend my time. But we're getting there. I'm going to get to the point soon where I'll just make sure every time we stream, whether Patriot TV's active or not, I'll get it streaming to the Rumble channel. But it's good every now and again to pop over here on Facebook and make contact with people that maybe don't know about us or that don't go over there. So all that being said, my concern is when I play this video, I'm praying it doesn't kick off the live. Doesn't, when you're on a Zoom, because this is a Zoom being zoomed right to Facebook. If I share my screen to another screen on my desktop to show this video, it seemed like one time when I did that, it kicked the damn live stream off. I don't know if it killed it completely. I was able to come back in, but I'm going to take the risk tonight. And I'm going to see if that actually will work, because I'd like you to see this video. And I want to bring that into the conversation with JP. I want to bring it into to the conversation with Dr. Michael Salla as well, making sure he's still here. Good. Yeah, Dr. Michael Salla sitting in the waiting room. So I'm going to give him a few more minutes and just kind of setting the stage here. And there's there's one other thing that I want to bring up here. And it was I talked about this last week, and my sister ended up sending me she sent me this, the ship I talked about last week, and I want to quickly comment on it. So let me go ahead, try a screen share and see if it's going to allow me screen share. If it doesn't show it here, okay, it does show that I can screen share. I'm going to take this risk. If something happens, I promise you I will come back and we'll figure it out. But I'm gonna go ahead and share this and see if you can see it. It appears to me that you can. Yes, great. Is this us? It's us. Yep. I think. Let me see if we're on Facebook still. Okay, it looks like we're still golden here. So this is what I wanted to show. I wanted to show this. This is what Elon Musk put on his post. It keeps getting smaller and smaller, and I can't figure out why that is. Look at that. That's really weird. Anyways, it shows this ship, and the ship shows Diddy, and it shows this little tugboat. And the next thing you see is a larger ship, Hanks and Epstein, and the largest ship, which is an ocean liner, is Podesta Clinton. And Elon Musk says, well, let's find out, shall we? And somebody who posted Elon's, it says, holy crap, Elon Musk simply doesn't give a shit. The hammer justice is coming. Most Elon Musk posted this, and it shows you how big what we're going to see in the reveal. And many of you know the Podesta Clinton. I don't know if you call it a saga, but it is pretty grotesque. And you can see the size of it. It dwarfs the whole Diddy situation. So obviously, we're going to get there. And looks like I'm going to bring Michael Salla in now. Hopefully JP comes in, and we'll set the stage. And when Dr. Michael Salla comes in, I'm going to play this video because I want to take tonight's conversation down this track of what the non-terrestrial, very advanced life, who is in a benevolent fashion kind of watching humanity's rise here. They understand the quantum realm of vibration, frequency, consciousness. And that's something that we truly have to get a handle on as our species to make this leap. Dr. Michael Salla, great to have you again here on the Tipping Point. Welcome. Hope you had a great Christmas holiday. I wish you a happy new year before the end of the show in case I forget. Good to see you, sir.
Thanks, Scott. Yeah, great to be here. Very exciting times.
It really is. And I was kind of laying the groundwork here, and I want to share this with you so it ties into our conversation tonight. And I expect JP will probably pop on here in a minute or two. But what I'll say is, once he does, we'll bring him up to speed, and we'll kind of tie this in, if we can, toward the direction we'll go in tonight. A lot of the folks that were watching this channel the last time, obviously, they found it to be a very fascinating show, which we knew it would be. And I'm going to mention to the audience once again, it's exciting. It's very exciting because your name obviously is in that pool of people for the Trump administration, and in the realm that you will add value to, and bring a great awakening of its own. And that is obviously the non-terrestrial activity, and the interaction with humanity, and the technologies that we should have access to, but we don't. The bad guys do off planet, but we don't. I thought one of the greatest comments you made the last time of how do we get to that point of disclosure of what's going on out there in the, sometimes I'm tripped up on that. I don't know, or is there a spherical structure? Is it flat earth with a dome and firmaments? Those things fascinate me. I don't know which the true answer is, but it's really not relevant in the big picture of things in the terms of this ascension leap we've got to make. Somebody asked me on a show just before this, I was a guest, and I made mention of, the podcast world's got to transition at some point from warfare to driving the consciousness of the planet upward, with getting people to understand the power of frequency, vibration, manifestation, the Christ consciousness, I call it. We have to begin talking about that, having the conversations, because just thinking about it, to have the conversations, is what raises the collective consciousness of the whole planet. And obviously that's something I think is critically important. We need to get to that if we're going to make that leap with as many people as we can. So what I'm going to do here, I'm going to go ahead. Did you speak to JP prior to this? Is he on deck to pop in?
Yes, I did confirm it with him. He has been driving all day, so he didn't give me an indication as to when he is going to be free. But I assume he's been on a long road trip, so when he does pop in, he might be a bit tired and maybe take a little time to set up. So I'm not sure when he'll show up, but hopefully it'll be soon.
Okay, good. Well, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to play a video, and it's interesting. And I would suspect, and I'll have you comment on this after we watch the video, but I believe that those people, those of us who may be have been thinking in this realm of, I guess I've been saying for quite some time, folks, we need to start imagining and envisioning what Eden is going to look like as we as a species get to rebuild Eden. And the reason we got to think about it is not just because we need to have a game plan to know what to do, what to prioritize, how do we save as many humans as possible with technologies that emerge so the fewest amount die and have a shot to ride this ascension track. And so we simply have to start thinking about it as a species, because it'll drive it just simply by the frequency and the consciousness. That's really critical. It's not mechanical, as you know, you would have told your audiences forever. It's the spiritual side is where the power is. So from that point of view, when we think of these things, it's amazing what starts coming to you just in the last couple of days, having conversations with people about this aspect of our ascension and the timing of where we are now. All of a sudden, videos just start popping up. People with these viewpoints, educational things, small bites on TikTok or Instagram. It's fascinating how that works. It's like when you're starting a new business, all you think about is that business, and boom, solutions start popping up everywhere. You're like, I can't believe this. That's how the consciousness works. And I think that's one of the most important things that, you know, we should talk about. And I want to see what we can perpetuate here with this video that I want to play so you can see this, and then I'd love you to comment on it and take this somewhere, at least that is a starting direction. Let me go ahead and pull that up and see if we can get this to play and have that discussion. Gonna get this thing out of the stage that it's in to try to get it to play. Okay, here we go.
Right, so I don't know if you've noticed this, right, but the universe don't speak English, don't speak Thai, don't speak Italian, don't speak French, Spanish, Russian, German, Chinese. If it doesn't speak any of this, then you gotta ask yourself, what does it speak? It speaks frequency. Why? Because frequency is the most honest language. You could say something in English, but on the other side, feel completely different about it. That's called lying, right? For example, if you go for a shit trim, you tell a barber it's good, but inside you feel like fucking death. You can't fool the universe with frequency. Everything you see, touch, and feel, including yourself, is a frequency. Money is a frequency, success is a frequency, that girl you want a frequency, that guy you want a frequency. You know how anxiety and fear feel, right? Because you've experienced that before, it's a frequency. And I'm gonna tell you something funny about manifesting, right? You don't want the event, you don't want the experience, you don't want the car, you don't want the money, the girl, the house. You want the frequency you feel when you have them things. You don't want the £20 note. You want the feeling of freedom with money, not the actual item itself, right? You've got to see it and feel it as if it's happening right now, because every single thing is happening right now in this present moment. That's all I ever talk about. Why? Because it's the only thing there is. Yesterday, you perceive this current moment as tomorrow, but it's actually right now. To manifest the success, the girl, the car, the house, the job offer, you need to have it right now. You've got to be so specific that even the tone and the words you choose to speak will alter your frequency. Guaranteed you're still using words like I can, I hope, I need, I want. If I put them onto a vibrational chart, how would you think they would look? I really, really need this to happen. I hope this works out for me. People think the word hope is positive. Yeah? When I say the word hope, that actually means there's a chance that this won't happen. You've got to affirm at such a high frequency with words like I am, I know, I can. The difference between I am and I hope is massive. I'm talking here and there. Like, the gap between them two is fucking huge. So your thoughts, feelings, your actions, they all create that frequency you're on. You only see a reflection of whatever you emit. It's facts. Like, you literally only see a reflection of the frequency you emit. It's the same with radio station, the wave, 94.6 FM. If I was 94.3, it's not going to be clear. All you got to do is just fix your frequency. Don't worry about the outcome, the thing you want to get. Fix the frequency. People are always looking, what can I do to get this result? What you got to ask yourself is, what frequency can I emit to put me on the same timeline as that thing? Fixing this will be a massive solution for yourself, and I promise you, you will see more change than you ever have before, and it's so simple.
And that, of course, goes into the it parallels what I was talking about, and it truly is that manifestation. And one of the things that I have said to my audience many times, or even on some of these big, huge church stages when we were on tour, you know, thousands of people, and with pastors sitting in the front row, I say it oftentimes, religion's the single worst thing that ever happened to humanity. And I'm never disagreed with. And I've said, you know, in the past, when it comes to, you know, this aspect of imagining, we're taught to pray. And I'm like, you know what? When you go into prayer mode, just shut the hell up. Stop talking. Like, how can you absorb downloads from the quantum field, the database of infinite intelligence, or God or source? How can you download that when you're, please God, do this, do that, whatever? How about just stopping it all and just get quiet in your mind and allow that to happen? Because that's where the imagination, in my opinion, is activated in this quantum field to start putting thoughts in your head that are coming from that realm, and it of course it implants that frequency, and we got to keep supporting that frequency by continuously imagining and revisiting that, imagining, as he said, the actual result of what you want versus just, I've got this girl, I've got this dollar. That's not what we're looking for. We're looking for that feeling, happiness, excitement, enthusiasm. And I found that in my opinion, I found that a fascinating, simple viewpoint that anybody can understand.
The video was very interesting. I agree with what the speaker was saying about frequency being the linchpin for manifesting things. And this, I think, is a very important way of differentiating between different realms of existence. The kind of like one of the sources that describes this quite well as far as kind of like humanity is concerned in relationship to the bigger kind of universe or the galactic realm is that there was the law of one material that came out in the 1980s, and that talked about densities, like different densities as opposed to dimensions. I mean, people think of the third, fourth, fifth dimension and so forth, that extraterrestrials come out of these higher dimensions. And of course, there's a lot of work, a lot of people that talk about them coming out of different dimensions. But I think it's also worth differentiating that from density, because dimensions is more a technological element. I mean, you can use technology to be able to kind of like elevate one from a particular dimension to another. But density is all about consciousness. It's more about the frequencies that we generate when we are thinking about our relationship to the world. And as the video said, it's very different. And I think you said the same thing. Very different between um, expressing your relationship to the world around you in terms of wanting, desiring, hoping. These are kind of like part of our normal 3D or third density consciousness, and religion is a part of that. But when we're talking about extraterrestrial life, they are more into fourth and fifth density and above, which is more an affirmation of who you are. Like, I am this. I am the universe. I am an expression of universal source consciousness. And this is how they choose to manifest, especially if we're talking about beings that in religion they talk about angels, archangels, seraphim, but the extraterrestrials they talk about fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth, ninth density consciousness. And so I think this is how these beings at the higher level operate, that they are closer to source energy and the ability to manifest because that is who they believe themselves to be, or that they feel it, they know that they are an expression of source energy. And I think as we rise in density, as our frequency rises, we become more and more aware of who we are in relationship, whatever you want to call it, kind of higher source, Christ consciousness, the logos, whatever name religion gives it. But I think as we rise in frequency, we become better at expressing that and manifesting everything to do with that. And these, we call them high density beings, angels, archangels, seraphim. I mean, they do this all the time. and they can choose to intervene in third density affairs because they want to help people. So I think it's a very important concept, frequency, vibration, and how this relates to the bigger galactic situation that we find ourselves in.
So how do you see, and correct me anywhere that I'm wrong, um, somewhere along this investigative path I've been on for probably the last decade, 9 years, um, this planet, as I understand, is a sentient being itself. It's not just a rock with dirt and trees on it and us. It's a sentient being, and it's moving in its evolution of consciousness, moving into the fourth density. It's whether it's on the edge of the transition, going through it now, or it's going to. Is that a fact, as far as you know?
Yes, I agree with that. I think that the planet and the sun are forms of consciousness, that they are evolving as well. And I mean, of course, indigenous peoples know this. I mean, they practice it all their lives, and of course, they have great difficulty understanding modern industrialized societies that cut off all connection to the earth, Mother Earth, and have no desire in kind of like connecting with it.
Mhm.
But I think it is evolving, and I think that's part of this kind of higher density consciousness, which I think is something different, more highly evolved extraterrestrial civilizations have learned as they evolve, that planets and suns are forms of consciousness, and that as you reach these higher levels of density awareness, that you are able to understand that, and you're able to work with that to bring harmony. And this is some scientists have talked about that. James Lovelock talked about uh, the Gaia hypothesis and homeostasis. And I mean, he talked about Earth being a self equil equilibrating system, that it knew how to bring balance to the earth, that if we got too out of balance, there would be great environmental changes. And so, this is where you get into the whole idea of kind of earth changes. You have the Earth's shifting crust. There's theorists that have talked about continents or the Earth rotation kind of shifting a certain number of degrees. It can be very minor, or it could be like up to 90 degrees. I mean, that which would be devastating for all over the planet. So this is how the Earth achieves homeostasis. And I think the ancients understood that they would understand if the Earth was ever out of balance and it was about to do one of these earth changes, like the shamans. They would have the visions, the dreams that, oh, something bad is going to happen. We need to mitigate this, or they would seek refuge in places. So yeah, I think that as we raise in consciousness, we're going to become more aware that the planet itself and of course the sun have consciousness as well, and that the more we connect with that, the more likely we are going to be able to make allies with other species that cohabit the earth. Because that's the thing, Scott, that a lot of people assume, well, humanity, we're the alpha species on the planet. There's no one else like us. Well, that's wrong. I mean, there are civilizations in the inner earth
Mhm.
that are ancient, that have really advanced technologies, and they've been watching us, they've been guiding us for millennia, and they are the ones that the extraterrestrials often first make contact with, because they're the wise ones. So I think it really is important to kind of acknowledge that the Earth has a consciousness, and it is evolving, as are we.
So glad you said that. I have a question about you and your career track here in a second, but the idea that, again, you know, it's incredible how the scientists, the Gazarian driven mob and all through the sciences created the, science class that the earth is what it is. And it's the center is all molten rock or lava or oil or whatever. When it's a honeycomb that's massive honeycombs through the whole planet. And there's civilizations in these massive honeycombs. That is a big leap for most people. And when they have a hard time thinking that in the typical dogmatic construct of religion, even Christianity, that's a hard leap for people to get an understanding that that reality exists. But I can't imagine not being unbelievably excited to know that's, I mean, the discovery process that we're going to be on here, it looks like it's emerging in the immediate future here. And you obviously have a role in that within a department with the Trump administration to start, breaching these firewalls that they have built so we never get to know these things. But for me, I'm fascinated by it. Again, as you've learned that, many years ago, I'm sure you probably had the same inclination. I want to get in there. I want to be among these people. I want to experience and see it. I couldn't imagine, coming away with something like that. In your life, I'm curious about this. In your life, in your academic life, what led you to this world of exopolitics in this subject matter? What was it? Were you young? Were you a contactee? I mean, what took you down this path?
Well, I was a professor of international peace and conflict resolution at American University in Washington, D.C., and my job was to understand the dynamics of international conflict and come up with solutions. So that's what I did professionally. And in 2001, I saw the Disclosure Project press conference organized by Stephen Greer, where he had 21 military, corporate whistleblowers and experiences come forward talking about what they had seen. And I immediately understood that this explained a lot about international conflict, what was really driving conflicts, that people look at international conflict as kind of like part of the normal geopolitics that a lot of people talk about. But what Greer did was that he exposed that there's a deeper level involving extraterrestrial life, advanced technologies, inner Earth civilizations, all of that information that is exopolitics. So it's kind of like outside of the normal geopolitical realm. And so to me, it was revolutionary. It was like, wow, this is amazing. I want to study this. And, and I talked to people at the university and tried to introduce this perspective into the university system. I was blocked at every level and eventually sacked because I, pushed this too far as the administrators thought that they thought that this was all conspiracy theory that had no place in a university. But for me, it was the only thing worth studying after I understood that this really explained a lot about international conflict and what was driving it. But my superiors just weren't ready for it, and the students weren't ready for it as well. I mean, I actually showed the first hour of the Disclosure Project press conference to 25 graduate students in a class that I was teaching called the Theory of Conflict, Violence and War. So that was the class. It was a graduate class at American University. I showed the first hour of Stephen Greer's Disclosure Project video, and I then asked all the class to line up along a line in terms of on the far right. Okay, you believe that this is real, that what the witnesses said is real. On the other side, you believe that it's all nonsense, it's all fabricated delusion. And if you're in the middle, then you are sitting on the fence. Well, out of a class of 25 graduate students at American University, only two thought that this was real. The rest were either outright dismissive, thought it was all delusion, conspiracy theory, or they didn't have an opinion one way or the other. So I realized that it's like it was just the mindset the university mindset is so inculcated with this idea that you cannot expect this massive secret to be kept secret for so long by the military and the corporations and my experience is that yes, that they have kept it secret very well because they know how to keep secrets. They know how to play the public psyche, and academics are probably the worst because they have this inculcated idea that they are superior in terms of intelligence to people who are in the military or in the corporate world. That somehow, if you're an academic, if you're a tenured professor, and you have that kind of time to study the open source literature, then you know what's going on. But the problem is they don't have access to the classified stuff because all of this is happening in the classified world, and even deeper into the classified world than secret, top secret. We're talking about compartmentalization. We're talking about unacknowledged special access programs. This is where it's all happening. So I was introduced to that way of thinking by Stephen Greer and the witnesses that appeared at that Disclosure Project press conference in 2001. And I realized that this was the only thing worth studying and researching. And the more I stayed true to that vision, the more it became clear that I had no real future within the university system anymore.
I got to tell you, I'll ask you a question on your emotional response to that particular forum. Mine, that's what opened that didn't just open the door for me. My soul elevation went off the chart, and whatever I was doing, this was 2016. I was pulled out of this grave from this catastrophic motorcycle crash. It destroyed me and left me paralyzed and all that. So I had, the next 5 years of this long trek to try to make my way back into a functional life. So I had a lot of time through the course of that to take myself in different directions of study. And I stumbled across Dr. Stephen Greer, How the Shadow Government Works. And it's that 3 hour and 50-minute session in Newport Beach. And I believe it might have been 2014, somewhere around there. I probably picked that up around midnight, 1 a.m. And I was up all night. I watched the thing from front to back. And the next night, I did it again. I watched that 3 hour and 50-minute dissertation at least 8 times. It was just like this sledgehammer of truth that I've been looking for all of my life. Even when I was a young kid, I probably wasn't really self-aware till I was 8 or 9 years old. There's just things that I remember contemplating and thinking about back then that I can remember it like it was yesterday. So there were these things, these soul gaps I had following modern religion, Christianity, born again Christian at 14, all this stuff. And and I threw the church overboard. 99. My audience heard me tell this story 1,000 times. 1999. I literally said, F you, I'm done, drop the anvil. I'm done living like this, guilt, fear, and all that. If you're going to drop it, do it right now, because I am done with all of this bullshit. And so I had been looking for an explanation of my existence. What's the blueprint here in quantum physics? Came on the heels of metaphysics, epistemology, philosophy. So these things I've been studying for quite some time. And then quantum physics became the blueprint that helped me understand why I had these soul gaps, explain my own existence, how I can actually formulate a life of some joy and happiness and truth and certainty in everything I did. That moment is what brought me back full circle to, I knew there was a divine, instigation of humanity, us, me, but it brought me back full center. I'd say right back home to God. I prefer to call back home to source. It just had been, it had been colored in many different confusing ways, obviously. But that is what blew my whole world open, that particular video. And then I just went from there. And it hasn't stopped since. But that's the first time in my life. Once I walked into this world, I finally felt exhilarated about my existence here, and what I could choose to make my life all about. And so when you first saw the one in 2001, that was the Disclosure Project, right? He started the Disclosure Project. By the way, folks, if you don't know who Dr. Stephen Greer is, and you probably could do a search, it might take a minute. Stephen is Steven, I believe, Grier. If you can find that video on YouTube, you can find it. It's there. You have to dig, but it's called How the Shadow Government Works. You'll know it's 3 hours and 50 minutes long. But for the question, so Dr. Stephen Greer is a Mensa Society, intellect, and also he was an ER doctor in North Carolina. His uncle worked for Northrop Grumman, Northrop Grumman built the F-14 Tomcat. So he gives you an idea of the wingspan they metaphorically have in defense systems. But again, my guess is Stephen, with his uncle being at Northrop Grumman, there's already stuff that's happening with that's an MIC player. So likely he was probably given some information from uncle. But he walked away in roughly, I think 1990, somewhere around there, walked away from medicine to found the Disclosure Project. And that was to, I want to say, coerce, instigate, influence people inside these government programs, whether it be a former CIA director, Joint Chiefs Chairman, military, the highest levels, compartmentalized programs, special access programs, that people, if you talk about it, they kill you. It's top above top secret. That even the president of the United States, they basically, when Clinton said, I want to know, what everyone to know about these programs, they're just like, F off, and they hang up on the president of the United States because it's above the power of the presidency. It's illegal, unlawful, immoral. But that's where where all this resides, in this vast housing of all this secrecy. But that's who Stephen Greer is, and the profound impact on me was life-changing. When you saw that, I'm curious, what was your emotional state? What was going on inside your head? Because you're looking at a whole new direction of your life. I mean, it obviously was massive, because look what you've done since then.
Yeah, it was really massive. It was like the more I read it, the more it was like, holy shit. It was like just amazing. It was just one series of realizations after another as I read the literature, absorbed it, spoke to others about Greer. I actually got to meet Stephen Greer. Actually, was going to set up a meeting at the American University where Stephen Greer would give a lecture, but all that was stopped by the university once they realized what I was doing. And it was just life changing. I went from being a kind of, well, put it this way, I was an assistant professor full time on a salary, and I believed in the stuff that the New York Times, Washington Post, the Wall Street Journal, CNN was putting out as like the best of the best information of what's really happening around the world. That's the sort of person I was up until Greer's Disclosure Project press conference. And after that, I realized that it was all bullshit, that it was just a cover, that there was just so much more going on, and that the press really was just running cover for these uh, for the military industrial complex that was secretly funding all of these unacknowledged special access programs dealing with extraterrestrial life, advanced technologies off the books. And Stephen Greer has been and continues to be to this day the most articulate and clear analyst of the way in which the secret government operates. I mean, that video that you said kind of like opened you up, I mean, I saw that as well, and it just really clarified the way in which the secret government operates. And I think it's very significant that today, as we have the US Congress having open hearings on UFOs, you have films coming out and a lot of major podcasters discussing this phenomenon. They're largely excluding Stephen Greer because what they want the American public to believe and what the world public to believe is that yes, they've recovered some of these craft. There's some kind of non-human intelligence involved with it, but there's been no progress in reverse engineering it. That as far as some of the UFOs up there being our kind of like alien reproduction vehicles, there's none of that. Well, that's why they're excluding Greer, because Greer kind of blows the whistle on that. He just exposes that. But at a personal level, what really changed for me, Scott, was that I changed. I mean, it was like you can't go back to the person you were, and that was terrifying for me because I went from being uh, having a full-time salary in a career that was kind of had a lot of prestige, being an assistant professor at a major university, and I had my son was living with me. I was a single dad at that time. To transition from that into not having a job, uh, trying to raise money, doing research on a topic that people thought was conspiracy theory and not worth paying any serious attention to. It truly was life on the bleeding edge. And yeah, I went through a lot of travail, eventually lost my son, had to send him back to his mother. And so, yeah, personally it was devastating, but I don't look back at it all because I mean, like you described your own epiphany, several epiphanies there. Once you have those, you can't go back to the person you were. You can only go down this track that now has opened up before you, and you stay true to that. And I always felt that, well, if this is true, if what I'm doing is true, and I'm just putting out free articles on this website called exopolitics.org because that's all I did. I would just put free articles out because, no one would pay me for writing an article about extraterrestrials visiting us. So I'll just put them up for free on my website. That somehow it'll turn out okay. And it did. It did. But that was just more, I guess, a frequency thing that I had within me, this understanding that if I do what I know to be true and stay with it, despite all the financial and personal costs that go with it, that I'll be okay. I'll be looked after. And that's absolutely what happened.
I gotta tell you, it's inspiring because that takes raw courage that few people have. Because again, when you have a son and you've got this life, and again, try to, I guess back then at that time, especially back then, you're so far out on the edge that there's only one direction to go. You can't go backwards, and the edge is razor thin, and so your margin for error is about zero to try to build a life from that. But that's certainly far more courage than I've even exhibited in my own personal war battle here, trying to wake the world up to this satanic, global satanic machine. But I got to tell you, I'm enamored by that kind of courage because I know what it was like back then. We had 911 and the world is focused on something different. But to stand your ground when everybody walks away from you is one of the most difficult. Acceptance, public acceptance, all these things. But then again, I can understand how you did it, because once I made these discoveries, it was like the doors blew wide open I've been looking for the doorways forever, and they blew wide open. And I finally found a reason to live life, because prior to that point in time, it was a long slog, come out of college and continued my training in a number of areas, behavioral science, a lot of different things, trying to work my way up this proverbial, I don't know what type of a ladder, you could say business or otherwise, but I just kept trying to extend my wingspan in many areas. But it was a long slog of startup companies and BS and head fakes, deception, lies, greed, all that shit that comes with the normal business world. And it was just a slog. And when this door opened, man, the lights came on. Unfortunately, I'm going to pick it up on the backside of this break because we're at the 57-minute mark. Music's going to pick up. Ladies and gentlemen, Scott McKay here, Tipping Point Revolution Radio with Dr. Michael Salla. Give us a few minutes for the radio break. We will be right back.
All right. Thanks for listening. We'll let you take a short break here at Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com. And yeah, we're going to get back to your host.
Ladies and gentlemen, Scott McKay coming back to you live here, second half, the Tipping Point on Revolution Radio. Folks, if you want to follow my work, you can always find me here. About a breath, walking up steps. I'm in the worst shape of my life right now. And so I'm breathing heavy. Anyways, you can find me here Monday, 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern every week. And of course, you can also follow me on PatriotStreetFighter.com. You can find the channels where we broadcast to from there. And the easiest way to get to me is psfrumble.com. Guess what, folks? We got our secret space program whistleblower coming in. Going to bring up JP. He should pop in here in a second. And we're going to extend this conversation. Many of you seen JP here last week, and he was, for many people, dropping some bombs on realities that most folks haven't heard. Not this group or crew, because you've been following this work for a while. But he's had a sensational track in his life. So we're going to expand on that conversation. But I do want to jump back to Dr. Salla here, pick up where we left off. I got a cardio machine sitting downstairs just off the kitchen. I bought it 8 months ago, and it's been part of my whole life, that type of physical conditioning, until the second crash that put me back down. But I look at it, I'm like, I swear this week I'm going to get on that thing. Tried it once and it just made one of my injuries hurt. I couldn't even walk the next day. But we're going to get that done, folks. So you're hearing me right now. It's my New Year's resolution, and you hold me to it because I'm going to get that done. So Dr. Salla, when then you, of course, started this track, and obviously you made enormous ground over the last roughly 23 years. At what point in that course of time, what year did you see this is really now starting to take on a life, and you realized that you really were on a track that was going to be crucial to where we're headed now? And that's going to be the exposure, the disclosure for all. What year did you see real hope that we're going to get there?
Well, I really believe that back in the time after Stephen Greer's Disclosure Project press conference, that that would take off. And so I was telling people that this is something that's coming out, it can't be suppressed. And then you had the 9/11 attacks. And of course, that September 11, those attacks, I mean, people have exposed that was actually false flag operations. But at the time, people believed that that's what really happened. And so it took all attention from what I thought was going to be a increasing set of revelations that this UFO phenomenon is real, that extraterrestrials are visiting us, to all of a sudden America's best and brightest signing up to go to Afghanistan to find alleged terrorists in the hills who masterminded the 9/11 attacks, which was a false flag event after all. So ever since that time, it's just been holding the course, putting the information out there. I think the 2017 New York Times story really helped change public perceptions about the topic. The New York Times, Politico, both in December of 2017, talked about ATIP, the ATIP program, Lou Elizondo. And so that brought the UFO issue into the kind of public mainstream. And ever since that time, there's been a steady increase in public awareness, Congress holding hearings, the Pentagon setting up an all domain anomaly resolution office to study this, submission of a UAP Disclosure Act that didn't make it through Congress, but still. So it's like there's been a kind of steady drumbeat of this UFO issue is worth paying attention, but we don't know what it is. So, but it's good that you're speculating about it. I mean, but that's very different to pre-2017, that anyone talking about this was like dismissed, or actually ridiculed, and so we're in a different time now, but it's still, we're still at this point where people are talking about kind of like these unknown objects in the sky. And of course, I think what's happened over the last month, just over the last month with the drones, which is just the latest renaming of UFOs. I mean, originally you had the flying saucers that then were renamed UFOs, that were then renamed unidentified aerial phenomena, that were then renamed unidentified anomalous phenomena, because now you can count objects going through the sea at hundreds of knots. And finally now they're drones, right? They're drones. We don't know what they are. But the level of public awareness and discussion of this that's being deliberately steered by powerful actors. I think both the white hats and the black hats are doing this. Each has their own agenda to achieve, but this has really raised the ante now. Now people are talking about it. So I think right now where we are, Scott, is like we're at the tipping point of this kind of like awareness that we're being visited by extraterrestrial civilizations, that we're at that tipping point where I think it's now looking more likely to happen over this coming year, 2015, that these craft are going to get bigger and bigger. JP, who I know he's trying to get in, and hopefully he'll be joining us soon.
He's here.
He's going to talk about what he saw.
JP, are you with us? I see your microphone is muted. We don't have any video of this time. That's okay, but can you hear us?
Yeah, I can hear you perfectly. Can you hear me?
We sure can. Is this your virtual helmet today? The no camera?
Yeah, no camera.
No problem. It's just good to have you here, folks. If you weren't here, I think, Michael, we were together about a month ago, if I'm not mistaken. I forget the exact date. But folks, JP had come through the Army program and was put into special access program, military grade special access program, off-planet ventures, craft, etc. And it's the first time I've had a chance to actually have JP on, but many of you seen it. You knew we were bringing JP back as well with Dr. Salla. So we're going to, of course, merge into that conversation as well. I got to make another comment. Dr. Salla, is this absolutely exciting? Like, this is actually really happening now, maybe by fall of 2025, next year. I hear we're going to start really getting some information coming at us. It's got to be from your seat, just unbelievably exciting.
Yeah, it's amazing to see how far we've traveled in the 23 years that I've been involved in this to where now it's like so many people, scientists and politicians, and even the president, leading candidates from all the parties, they're talking about all of this. They're talking about the drones and like, well, what are they? Shoot them down, or launch an investigation. Why isn't the military taking action? Why are they standing down? Yeah, everyone's talking about it, and of course the Pentagon and the White House are saying, well, we don't know what they are, but Yeah, they're real and it's serious. So I think this is all part of the preparation. That this, to me, this is like a psychological operation to prepare the public for what's coming. And JP, which is just did an update where he was shown some of the craft that are going to be seen increasingly over the next few months. So, I mean, JP, I don't know if you want to talk about your latest update, what you saw when you went into that military facility.
Well, it was a building. It looks like a regular building away from, a certain base, McDill. Uh, so this building is separated from McDill, but I got taken to this type of building that has like a lot of floors. It has one floor, and then it has another floor that is a bigger floor where these ships were at. And they told me when I saw these beautiful cigar-shaped ships, I think it's September 14, 2017, one of the pictures I took when I was a civilian, I took a picture of these Nordic type of cigar-shaped UFOs, UAPs, drone, whatever you want to call them now. And they let go these types of orbs, right? And these orbs, what they do is they come out from the ocean, they come out from these ships, and they do recon, right? And while they do recon, they get any information of what is studying them, and they grab that data and they bring it back to the ship, and it's all connected. Oh my God, it's amazing the technology of these plasma looking orbs. So it's amazing technology, Scott. It's something that you probably read in the science fiction book or something like that, but it's amazing the technology that we have and that we're working with.
I got to tell you, shortly after I started, jumped from this radio show to when I could actually stay on YouTube in the very beginning, 2020, November 12th, 2020 was the first live stream I ever did. But in the preceding months, I would have people that would be in the comment box here saying, Scott, there's orbs flying around you and through your screen. Of course, I would have to go back and rewind after that broadcast was done. Somebody say, go to the 14-minute, 11-second mark and you can see. So I'd go through and I'd see little orbs kind of just cruising on by, right? Right? The camera picked them up. And, my belief is obviously the orbs are what we are, a higher density, something or other. But I haven't noticed it. I have to say it's probably been since I've even paid attention, but not on a consistent basis, but an occasional basis. I'd be watching this screen as I am here when we're doing a show, and I'd see an orb kind of cruise. I was like, hey, did you see that, folks? Did you see that orb just go right by here? And that,
yeah, the spiritual realm is really real, Scott.
Yeah, and
I think the governments have studied, what is remote viewing and other capabilities that the human body has, and when you get into the physics of how everything works with vibration and sound frequency and all that, that's when you get into wow, what's happening is real, and a lot of people are taking videos, or a lot of people are taking pictures right now. Right now is viral. Everybody's talking about it. Something that we've been talking about for a while. Now it's just a feeling that, wow, everybody's waking up. Everybody's knowing what's happening, and the black hats, the bad people, right? These people still, they have a grasp, and we do have to be vigilant and careful, but share the love, share the life that we have, and as humanity work together and make America great again. Not just America, make the world a better place. That's what I think should happen.
Well, my full belief is we're absolutely in that time, space, era, whatever, that that's going to happen. So I want to ask you this. I can make an assumption, but these orbs that are, visit from time to time, that my audience picks up on, what are they? Is it a higher density acknowledgement of, hey, we're here, you're on the right track, or validation? What exactly, in your opinion, based on what the purpose of these orbs when they do kind of show up and roll through the screen,
Well, right now they're trying to make the mud dirtier than what it is, So right now it's a mixture of a lot of things, It could be governmental from different governments, or it could be, yes, ET crafts that comes from maybe a civilization that does live in the seafloor and interacting with different types of arcs and all that.
Mhm.
So it could be a lot of different things, the same way as we have Lamborghinis and Rolls Royce and Honda and Civics and all that. It's the same thing with these crafts, they have different style and different types of crafts, So a lot of people are seeing different types of shapes and a lot of different things. So I believe it's a type of them saying that, hey, we're here and we've been here for a long time throughout history. If you look at religious paintings, you look at, ancient aliens and all that. It's it's been around for a long time. It's just now people are waking up. Scott.
Yeah, it's certainly on cave walls all over the world. Cave walls inside pyramids. It's been well documented, 100,000 years of discoveries of these and more. You were going to say, Dr. Salla?
Yeah, I think it's helpful to distinguish between the plasma orbs and the metallic orbs. The metallic orbs, I mean, they are, from what we know, they are built by various corporations, and that they can be controlled and guided to do all sorts of reconnaissance. They also are built by some of the kind of like extraterrestrial civilizations that are not as advanced as some of the other civilizations that can create the plasma orbs. So this is where you're getting into more of a kind of interdimensional aspect of the orbs, that these are actually living entities, or there's a consciousness associated with those, and they're also playing a role, and they come from the more highly evolved extraterrestrials. And as JP was saying, that as we have more and more of the extraterrestrial craft being deployed to kind of like help awaken us to what's really going on, the deep state, the black hats, they're releasing their corporate orbs, or their corporate unmanned aerial systems that actually muddy the waters. That just like, it's just a big confusion as to what's out there. But what's very noticeable, Scott, is that the military is standing down. They're not shooting at them, and that's very interesting, because you've had a number of congressmen now say, well, why is the military shooting them down? We're going to issue, pass a bill authorizing the military to shoot them down. Well, they're not shooting them down because the military realize that, there's a mix of things up there, and you can't tell friend from foe. So better to just stand down, and that's what they're doing.
Dr. Greer made a comment once when, again, the Black Project leaders were talking about, when we start to see this emergence, this exposure of non-terrestrial craft, that they, whatever their machinations are to accomplish this, we got to create a war machine to take them on. And Stephen Greer's like, do you realize how absurd this is? If they were a threat to us, it would be over already. If they can travel, light years through dimensions, or, solar systems, galaxies away, whatever, interstellar to get here, you think they don't have technology to wipe us out with the technology we have? Like, come on, folks, wake up. Use a little common sense here. They're obviously here for a different reason. as we know what that reason truly is now.
Yeah, so people that don't know, they do have to be careful, because these things they they fly really, really fast, you know. You get in the middle of these things, it will like turn you into dust, depending of where you're standing around it. So yeah, you do have to be careful, it's it's really it's going to be tough for a lot of people, Scott, especially people in religion, I know it could be hard sometimes, but even the Bible talked about this, Ezekiel, he saw these type of angels that look like orbs and plasma and had rotating wheels and all that, so it's yeah, we're living amazing times and I can't wait what's about to happen,
Yeah, you look from a biblical perspective. If John was transported into the future to see with this coming time, whether they call it the time of revelations, rapture, or whatever dark fear-based spin they put on this time. You think about it, if that is true, and whatever, I don't care if it's a time machine or a dimensional leap to see the future, and you're back then in those times, thousands of years ago, you're going to try to describe locusts coming up out of the ground, and well, that could be a whole a wing, an entire wing of F-18s, and they didn't exist 2,000 years ago. You're looking at these things like, I think they're locusts, right? You talk about various aspects of Revelations and the descriptive terms that are used. It's because that's the only terms you had. You had parallels you had to draw to what existed back then, so you can understand. From a documented standpoint, biblical standpoint, of course, these things are. We think there's going to be swarms of locust insects coming in and doing all this damage, but describing wormwood, which actually is a fireball or whatever. I forget wormwood. There's a definition to wormwood. Can't remember now. That has to do with like nuclear. I don't know, Michael. You might even know. But there's explanations inside the Bible that relate to this, these truths, and of course this time. They just have to be interpreted properly.
Yeah. Yeah, Zach.
Oh, yeah. Well, as far as Wormwood's concerned, I mean, that's where people talk about the Nemesis, this kind of rogue planet. That's where you kind of get Zechariah Sitchin's work about the Planet X coming in, and I think that was a contingency, and goes back to the kind of frequency level. If humanity hadn't kind of like raised our consciousness sufficiently, then I think something like that was likely to happen. But I think we kind of like dodged the bullet there as a planet, because you can go back to the 1970s where there were predictions like alternative 3. People thought that the planet was about to undergo devastation, earth changes, and then in the 1990s, you had Gordon Michael Scullion, Edgar Casey predictions that the planet would also have these devastating earth changes. So, all of that hasn't happened because I think our consciousness has risen sufficiently so that these events that could have taken us down a very dark path have being mitigated, that they just didn't emerge. So what that's left with is that now we're ready to graduate into a galactic society. And I think that's where we are right now. That's why the galactics are here. They are increasingly revealing their craft. The military knows this. The military is standing down, even though the deep state's trying to provoke confusion and even trying to provoke a shooting war, because they got their people out there saying, why isn't the military shooting them down? Because they know what they are. And so that's failing. And this is where what JP has, his latest update is very important, because the craft that people are seeing up there are going to get bigger. Soon they're going to start seeing the cigar shape craft. So, JP, do you want to describe more details about the cigar-shaped craft that you saw at that military facility that you were told that this is what people are going to start seeing soon up in the skies?
They kind of look like submarines, Doc. As I said in updates, but it has like an uh, electrical type of. I'm thinking it's a type of mercury type system that it has, but it's also a system that they don't like to talk about a lot. But when I saw it, the opening, instead of being on top, it's in the bottom, in the middle of this type of submarine looking ship, cigar looking ship. And it has like it was quite like floating from the ground. And I didn't see like if it had connected to a handle or something like that, how the way it was parked, but they were off the ground and in the distance. I think I
You
saw
talking, were they levitating, JP, in some respect?
they were in the angle that I saw them. Yes, they were levitating, but I'm thinking they also were parked on these types of handles that grabs them, like
Uh,
they look like types of arms or
yeah.
mechanical arms or something like that. But yes, they were off the ground. They were.
Um, quite, if I'm not mistaken, some of the first craft that our Navy's program, when they had the technology, I can't remember what exactly it is. It's sort of the bell-shaped housing and the
Mhm.
technology involved in that, but they actually, to create the first spacecraft of their program, they put this technology, whatever they did, fused it, welded it to actual submarines that could be transported off planet, because the
Mhm.
submarine's a self-contained system underwater. It's going to do the same, in space conditions. But I do have an interesting question. Um, this brings us to, I just mentioned it earlier. I've listened to this discussion back and forth on what exactly is the Earth. Do we have a spherical, plane with planets in outer space, and or do we have a flat Earth, basically circular with a dome? If many people are very adamant that we have this level of firmaments, a dome over top of our entire planet, which is a flat disk. Doesn't matter to me what it is. I'd like to know. It's fascinating. But if it is a dome, how do we have outer space? This is a question I always ask myself. But I never dig
The,
into
the
it. But
the Earth is round, Scott, and
is it a sphere?
yes, yeah,
Okay.
it is a sphere, and as you can see, the moon is a sphere too. The sun is a sphere. The planets are also a sphere, and you can tell how far you can see in with the new that new beautiful satellite that we have up there.
Mhm.
That are finding even more stuff right now, and this is getting really interesting. You know, yeah, it's really round. It's a round Earth. We have a north, and then we have a south pole. You know, it's
Well, let me ask you this. Where does I mean, I got some friends that are very bright people, and they're completely committed to the theory of a flat Earth. A flat circular Earth, a disk with these level of firmaments. These are bright people, and they were, they are the same mindset that I was trained or taught to think growing up. How do they make that transition? How does somebody make such a case so strong that they actually believe otherwise? How's that? I've said in the past, maybe it's both. How can it be both? Well, if you believe something to be true, then a reality is manifested that you happen to live in alongside those people who believe that there's a spherical Earth with outer space and a lot of other planets. Is it possible? Anything is possible with our Creator. How do people make that leap? I don't get it.
Well, I think this is all part of the psychological operation that has been conducted since the 1960s. There's now I'm sure you've heard of Richard Hoagland, and he was at the time for the Apollo 11 mission. He said that that while they were observing the Apollo 11 landing in 1969 on the moon, that there were people walking around to all of the major, or to all of the journalists' desks, and they were dropping off these leaflets saying that this was all a hoax, and talking about things like flat Earth, that you can't pass the Van Halen belt, and coming up with stuff to kind of like hide the fact that there was a landing on the moon, and that they had discovered things on the moon that they wanted to cover it up. But one way to cover up a lie was to propose another lie, which was that we never left the Earth after all. So there's a lot of people that believe that the Apollo missions were all a fabrication, that we never left the Earth, that it was all shot in a studio with Stanley Kubrick orchestrating it all. So there's a lot of people that still to this day believe it. So, Hoagland made the observation that the best way, this is the way the psychological operation works, that you hide a lie with a bigger lie. And people get so wrapped up in that bigger lie that they forget about the other lie, that, well, the Apollo astronauts arrived on the moon, they saw extraterrestrials up there looking at them, and this was covered up. But people have been debating ever since that no, the whole Apollo 11 mission was just a fabrication, that we never left the Earth after all. And I think the kind of flat Earth theory is a similar psyop that and I, like you, Scott, I know people that are very smart people who are totally committed to the flat Earth theory. So to me, it's like, wow, that's an impressive psyop that you can get smart people believing this. But I think this is the way in which the secrecy system operates, that they develop a very sophisticated lie to hide the obvious lie.
How do you explain the video footage of Buzz Aldrin being asked that question? He's saying, we never went, right? He's just saying, we never went. And that ties into the narrative that we never went. They show the old video footage of a shadow pointing this direction, whoever the astronaut is walking away. So now the shadow's that way. Again, you can fabricate anything, especially in the digital world, make it look like it's actually analog. But look, at the end of the day, here's what I believe. It should get so confusing at times. And I want to respect everybody's opinion and viewpoint. And I want to entertain all of them, because who knows what the truth is. So I entertain them all. But I think, as the future is emerging, to get to the truth of anything, and I've told my audience this, as we merge in, or we move into this, the upper third density, we're moving toward this fourth density. You're not going to be able to discern truth by logic, reason, facts, eyes. You're going to learn truth, discern it by how does it feel on the inside. That just doesn't feel right to me, right? That's what I believe. We're spiritual beings anyways. It's sort of this telepathic tethering to the entire quantum field that will let us know exactly what the truth is. And I learned this. I started to my dive. I was this is back in 2004. I was speaking at an event in Colorado, and I met a guy named Jason Cisneros, who was one of Tony Robbins' top speakers at the time backstage. And I remember telling him, since I left the Northeast, moved to California, I feel like I fell down a flight of stairs, like over the last 10 years, because I wasn't mentally as sharp and because I had a different life then. But he recommended that I read 3 books. First, buy the book called The Dream Giver by Bruce Wilkinson. It's about this thick, and read it in a couple hours. And it's truly an impactful message. And then the next book I want you to read is called Power versus Force, of course, by Dr. David Hawkins. And as you get into the next, after that, Power versus Force, he follows it up with Truth versus Falsehood. I read Power versus Force probably 4 times back to back, because I have to study stuff. I won't go to the next sentence until I can somehow grasp this one before I move on. But truth versus falsehood in the quantum field, what I learned was fascinating. You could take a picture, a painting of the Mona Lisa. It could be the real one, or a replica, and you can, because the quantum field is what it is, you can show this picture, this painting, to an Aboriginal tribal member who can't even understand your language, and you can do the kinesiological testing. As we do that, you can do that with nutrition products. Put them on your chest. Have somebody try to drive your arm down. If you're strong, that will work for your biochemistry in a positive way. If you test weak, you don't put that in your body. That's the quantum field. But truth is also measured the same way. You could state a liar, truth, say, this is not the original Mona Lisa. They can't even understand what you're saying, but you at least have somebody translate to them. When this person makes a statement, understand it or not, they're going to try to push your arm down. Resist as hard as you can, tell them nothing else. And they test very weak. So now there's your truth, right? It's that kinesiological testing. That can only be impacted or perpetuated by that quantum field, that quantum reality. And he says in the book, they calibrated the entire Bible, every single verse in the Bible, the entire book, every one of those sentences in there. And it at the highest level calibration is 1,000. The Bible itself calibrates at 700. Now, obviously, it's not what it once was, the messaging, because we know they distorted it, twisted it, whatever. But to just give you the heightened purity of Christ's message, even though it's watered down, Einstein rated at 499. 500 is that push, what I would describe the conscious leap into the state of bliss, spiritual bliss, or whatever we're looking to get to. So obviously, it still calibrates at an extremely high level. But that level of truth, to me, as we emerge into this, this new, to upper density or whatever, that's how we'll know what the truth is, not by logic. I think in the spiritual realm, that's how we'll have, full truth, transparency. Anyways, that was just kind of a side rabbit I chased for a minute. But if you want to comment on that, Dr. Salla, I'd be interested to hear your viewpoint.
Well, I think the truth is a force, and when people raise their consciousness, they're going to recognize more and more the truth of the kind of broader galactic situation that we face ourselves in, because this has been an information war to keep us separated from the galactic civilizations visiting us and from the inner earth civilizations that are waiting for us to just wake up. And as we raise our consciousness, we become open to that, and we are going to start making those connections. But there are forces at play that want to distract us and confuse us, and so they will come up with all kinds of elaborate schemes and hoaxes to draw our attention away from those greater realities and make us fight and argue over, well, the Apollo 11 never really left the Earth. It was just a psyop, and lots of similar arguments that, well, there is no outer space. There's just the dome, and we're inside the firmament, and we don't know what's out there. But I mean, JP has traveled in space. I mean, he's been on the craft. I mean, JP, what did you see? Did you see the Earth when you were out there?
Yeah, you do see the Earth. You do see the Earth. You do see the different planets. You do. And it's an amazing feeling. It's like something that you cannot explain. The sight it's so beautiful. It takes you off your legs, It's amazing. It's so fragile too. When you start seeing the planets shrinking, and you're like, wow, we're nothing. We're dust, amongst the stars. You're like you're like dust. It's amazing. Like, if we get into how small we are in the universe, but how big we are as a consciousness, because everything is connected. It's a feeling that you can't explain.
Yeah, let's talk for a second about, the transportation systems to get to places like Mars. I mean, Obviously, there are portals, there are craft that can get there like super light speed fast. Um, and we might have brought this up the last time, Dr. Salla. We've got Elon Musk talking about going to Mars, colonizing Mars. I'm like, why the psyop there? There have been Americans living on Mars for generations. I mean, the brain drain, all the post World War II scientists all over the planet start disappearing, right? People don't know that, but they start disappearing. Like, where did these brilliant scientists go? And of course, they were sold this bill of goods. There's going to be a cataclysmic event on Earth. It's going to be wiped out. We got to extend humanity. You're special. We're going to take you and your family, and we're going to transport them, to wherever, Mars, whatever. And you're going to help us, of course, prepare for repopulation or whatever. And then they get up there and get out there, whatever. And they find out they're slaves. They're slaves. They're not free to do anything. You're going to work for us and do whatever. And, nobody ever questioned. We've heard about the brain drain, but nobody ever says, well, what's the real truth behind that? So I wonder what Musk's purpose is by making those statements. Is it a psychological setup? So when that's revealed, oh yeah, we not only are we going to go there, I don't know how they reveal that there's Americans living on Mars.
And it's kind of interesting that the new ships that Elon Musk is building, they kind of look, if you put them on the side, they kind of look like similar to the ships that I saw. And they look cigar shaped too, if they're traveling in space and you see them there, they also do look like cigar shaped ships, so yeah, I think with this new administration, a lot of truth is going to come out, Scott, and I think that's what the American people are waiting for, that the truth to come out, and the release of these technologies, and JFK, also he's gonna help out with the health aspect about what's happening in the United States and around the world. And I think this new administration is going to do a good job by bringing the truth out.
Dr. Salla, we've talked in the past. I've mentioned it over the course of time, not a lot, but numerous times. We've got this galactic federation that is off planet, high level intelligence beings, etc., that are obviously working for the good of the space that we occupy, solar system, galaxy, whatever. And I saw something recently that Trump actually, whether it was back in his first presidency, recently had met with the Galactic Federation. And I think I listened to Corey talk one time where he was transported to one of these meetings off planet, of course, and he's asked to speak there, and because he can telepathically translate or something, but he sees Vladimir Putin there, and there's representatives from every country in the world that are actually there at this off-planet meeting. Now you talk about stuff like this, some of your loyal followers are gonna be like, yeah, okay, you just went over the edge for me. I'm okay with that, but my soul tells me that there obviously is this coordinated, advanced contingent, and that they have to have met with leaders on the planet. We've had Laura Eisenhower on talking about it wasn't really even her grandfather Eisenhower who had communicated with these, whether it was a Grays or whatever. It was actually Truman that made that deal to allow them to take off, so many humans off the planet for whatever experimentation or whatever. And we caved in to that faction. But have you heard, or are you aware, Dr. Salla, of these type of meetings with Trump or the administration with a galactic federation?
Well, Haim Eshed was the Israeli scientist who exposed that. I mean, he was the father of Israel's space program, and in December of 2020, so this is the last month of Trump's presidency, his first administration anyway. I mean, Haim Eshed revealed that Trump was in communications with the extraterrestrials, with the Galactic Federation. He specifically named that. He said that agreements had been reached, and he also said that they thought that humanity was not ready yet because our level of technological development hadn't reached a particular threshold that was important for them. And I think this is part of the reason why Elon Musk is working closely with the Trump administration for returning to Mars, because I think what that's going to do is enable Trump and SpaceX to reinvent the wheel. Because the thing is, ultimately, Boeing and Northrop Grumman and General Dynamics, the major aerospace companies that reverse engineered all of these technologies that were used for secret space programs, they're going to be very reluctant to release that technology into the public sector. But what you do have is a lot of inventors out there who are coming up with new ways of developing anti-gravity propulsion systems, new ways of developing free energy systems. And we know this because there are almost 6,500 patents that are currently withheld due to national security orders, and that some of the categories deal with anti-gravity propulsion, kind of like free energy, 0 point energy, those sorts of things. So this is what I think this kind of Trump-Musk alliance is going to be doing with the incoming Trump administration, is just kind of like release the shackles. I think that's really the goal of Doge, is to release the shackles that is placed on the inventors of the United States and anyone that comes up with a new invention that is applied for through the US Patent and Trademark Office. I mean, they're often shackled by the national security system that slap on these secrecy orders on them. So once all of that's removed, and once the Department of Government Efficiency starts to kind of like cut away all of those regulations, then I think all of the inventions for free energy, anti-gravity propulsion is going to come out, and Elon Musk is going to jump on that, and he's going to retrofit Starship to have anti-gravity propulsion. He's going to retrofit the Tesla truck and all of those electric cars with free energy motors, because now they're already all electric. So he's just going to replace the he's just going to put in a free energy motor there, or free energy system, so that creates the electricity. So this is all coming in this next Trump administration.
Do you think yourself we are prepared on a conscious level for that kind of a technological leap? As a stage set for that, do you think Musk's rapid advancement in the world of technology and enterprise was a setup? This rapid evolution, it was a setup to prepare us for that, so we're not blown away and not believing it, like, oh, of course, that's what Elon's always done. Now we've got anti-gravity cars. Is that a disclosure track you think they've been on with him?
Yeah, definitely. I think that Musk is very much aware of the need to release these advanced technologies to take us into space as a spacefaring civilization. And technologies are being slowly released, leaked into the public sector. And that's precisely the kind of role JP has been asked to play, because he's not a whistleblower per se. He's part of a covert disclosure initiative, because he has been asked while he was serving in the army and doing these covert missions for the Air Force. He was asked to be part of these missions and then to report back on them. He was given a green light to tell me about them so that I would put them out. And then, we now have a series of 3 books talking about all of this. But he's been talking about these anti-gravity propulsion systems and some of these advanced technologies that are eventually going to be used by Musk to kind of like colonize Mars and reinvent the wheel But at some point, the secret space program, the Navy's Solar Warden program, is going to reveal itself, and that's when things are going to move really, really quickly.
Two questions. First for you, JP. Did you have to ask permission to be on this show, or you have carte blanche choice of how you disclose what you're doing?
I have choice, but I have to be careful what I say, and I have to really put my words in the right way in order to say a certain way that would not damage the security of different places.
Okay. And I forgot the second question I was going to ask you, Dr. Salla, just flew out of my brain. Um,
And I also want to put my sense. I'm sorry interrupting you, Doc, but AI has a big role on the technology that's going to roll out as well. And I think people should like really put their mind right now also on what the capability of how AI is being used. Um, there's AI videos out there that look real and they're fake. It's amazing the graphics and the technology of AI and how fast this can put humanity, just AI. That is a humongous leap for space and medicine. So it's something else that is going to help out with disclosure.
I have one last question to ask. We've got less than 4 minutes before the music comes up, but I want the audience to know you can find Dr. Salla's work at exopolitics.org. And I haven't been able to dig into these myself, but I'm going to. There's fascinating video projects there. You'll see as soon as you land on there at the top of the page, very compelling stuff that even I wanted to spend the time watching. Look, this has been a beaten question for 5 years now. Med beds. I met one person who says to me, I assure you, they do exist. They're being manufactured in various, cabal companies who have been, forced to transition. I think General Electric was one. This woman said, because my son-in-law is working at General Electric, and that's one of the projects building these med beds. True or untrue?
Super true. Super true, Scott. It's a technology that's coming out. The same way, like I was saying about the different types of ships. There's going to be different types of brand of types of med beds. And first, like Russia or other countries are going to start coming out with vaccines like cancer or for other diseases. So they're going to start rolling out these types of vaccines first of how to heal certain diseases like diabetes or cancer or AIDS, HIV, and then the med beds will roll out. And the same thing is going to happen with these orbs because people are starting seeing the orbs, are making videos of orbs, are seeing bigger ships, triangular ships, and then they're going to start seeing like cigar-looking ships and bigger ships, and it's going to get even bigger. So the main thing is getting people used to the technology that's going to roll out. If it's a vehicle or if it's a med bed and all that, because all these technology will be implemented as well in different types of vehicles. Man, you buy these $1 million cars, they can do anything inside the car. You can watch video, it has massages inside of it. So all these technologies are going to be mended together in the future, and I believe that it's real, yeah. And I got put in one.
Okay,
and I have that update also with Dr. Salla.
That's the answer. We're down to 1 minute and 15 seconds. Dr. Salla, the last minute's yours. And med beds, he says they're real. He's been in one.
That's right. Yeah, he was in one. He was in one where there were 15 med beds made available at a Veterans Affairs facility, and it seems that they are rolling out the med beds first for military veterans that have been part of covert programs who were injured in various ways. So that seems to be a kind of sensible way of rolling it out. You start with the veterans because they know how to keep a secret, and then eventually it's going to come out into the public sector. I've got three books that talk about JP's missions. And my whole history with JP since 2008. They're called US Army Insider Missions, books 1 through to 3, and everything that JP has experienced up until the kind of middle of this year are covered in those books. So I want to thank you, Scott, for having us back on Patriot Street Fighter and being a venue for the truth to come out.
Stand by. I got a real quick question. Let me do the radio break and we'll pop right back here in 1 second. Ladies and gentlemen, Scott McKay, Tipping Point Revolution Radio. Come back next week, 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern, and we will be back. Okay. I just let the radio station go. I've got a pressing question here, and I want to ask this question. I'm going to pull up some. I'm going to pull up something I want you to have a look at, and my question is this. I've got enough metal in me to build a bicycle. And I, for some reason, before I ever stumbled onto this information, this gravedigger happened in 2014, April 26th. I was killed in this catastrophic crash, kicked back on the playing field, but they had to rebuild me like the Terminator. And I just knew over the coming years, probably by I started to discuss, just in my mind through that recovery process, I wasn't supposed to be upright or let alone walking again. But somehow I believed we're going to head into an era in my lifetime where they're going to be able to demolecularize all of this metal that's in my body. I'm going to give you a quick look here. I'm going to show you, let me just do the share here. And that's the question I want to ask you. Is that time coming where I will be able to see all of this stuff? So see if I can get this to expand. This is my left femur. That long plates on the outside of my femur is broken 7 places. This is the inside of my femur. This nail that's going right up through the center here was when I was taken out in a hit and run 5 years ago on my motorcycle. My tibia right here from the knee downward, they had to put a rod that goes the whole way down to bridge this entire mess here. Of course, you can see my
Jesus, Scott.
Yeah, my lower tibia here was also in the first crash. They had to reattach that. My ankle busted in two, blew out the back of my foot into my boot because my foot was nearly fully severed. The the hit and run crash on my motorcycle, they had to rebuild my foot. So you can see all this metal inside my body. That's the left side. Now here's my pelvis and spine. Got a spinal fusion here. I've got 2 pelvic screws that go in through my pelvis into my spine because my pelvis was blown off my spine, blew my anterior pelvis apart right here in the front. So again, they had to pull that back. I could have given birth to a 30-pound baby, they said. But so, like I said, when I say I have enough metal in me to build a bicycle, I don't mean maybe. This is what I live with. And so what I'm wondering is, will they be able to demolecularize all this metal, get it out of me, and it disappears, and then restructure my skeletal structure so I can be normal? I mean, I've got a boot on my left foot. It's got about that much of a sole built onto all my boots because it was broken so badly twice. It's probably 1.25 inches shorter than the other one. So, it's made life somewhat difficult, but obviously I navigate it. Are we going to get to that point where they can just reshape I know they're doing this in the off-planet programs, growing limbs and that. I suspect that day is coming where I'm going to be made whole again. What do you think?
Yeah, like you said, I mean, the technology is there. They've been using it in the SSPs for decades now. Now, how are they going to make it available to the general public? Yeah, that's the critical question. I mean, when are they going to do that? I think they probably will try to prioritize the health aspect of the disclosures because I think the majority of people on the planet, space and Mars and SSPs are going to be pretty abstract, and extraterrestrial life will be kind of like, okay, that's pretty cool, but how does that affect me? But health does. People, so many people are suffering things. So I think they're going to prioritize the health, and maybe that'll maybe the strategy, maybe they're going to go down that path because that way they will allay the people's um, like fury when they learn that this stuff's been around for decades.
Yeah. Yeah.
But they're going to like kind of fast track the health technologies to help people get better, and that'll be sorry. Oh, JP's talking to, I think, some of his family. So yeah, so I think like JP said, there's going to be different stages. I mean, he went through one and it healed him, but he said it was only operating at 30% capacity. If it operates at 100% capacity, then it can do amazing things. So, but yeah, it sounds like what you went through is pretty serious. So, um,
Yeah, I'm sure we have the technology to minimize the metal of a person's body, and switch it out with bone. I think that technology, it can easily be done, through frequency, vibration, and other types of technologies that I know that we have. That right now, I think scientists are breaking out that yes, teleportation is available
Mhm.
and that we can do it. And I think in the way of teleporting something out and putting something back in, but I think it'll be a longer type of healing, um, type of way to do it. But I think is available. Yeah, it could be possible.
Well, as long as they don't have to butcher me again, because they had to butcher me twice to put this in. I couldn't imagine say, yeah, we can take it out. We're just going to start slicing you open from, from top to bottom. Couldn't do that again. Anyways, listen, gentlemen, another fascinating show. I had to extend it because I had to get that question answered because I knew when we get back here again with you guys, I'll likely have forgotten it. But I appreciate you both taking the time coming back, and rarely do I ever extend past the radio show to keep a show going, but this is always fascinating with the two of you, and mad respect, much love to both of you. Wishing you both a great new year and a great year coming up. And of course, folks, if they agree, we'll be bringing you gentlemen back again here in the near future so we can continue this conversation because it's very, very.
Thank you, Scott, for the opportunity to be here in your show and to bring the truth and love and whatever the people want to hear. The real things are happening in our lives. Appreciate it for the opportunity.
Very,
Okay.
very
Thanks, Scott.
exciting. Absolutely, gentlemen. You guys have a wonderful start of the new year. And with that, folks, we will go ahead and do a send off. I'm wishing all of you a fantastic new year. We have nothing but a very bright future coming. So get ready. Patriot Street Fighter out. Scott McKay here. Most people know me from the radio show The Tipping Point on Revolution Radio or Patriot Street Fighter, the podcast on Rumble. We are headed toward an amazing year, as many of us believe. And if you've been following this exposure of these elements of the architecture on the planet that really has limited the human experience, the spiritual evolution of this species here on this planet, you come to realize that we are on the verge of making massive global changes, primarily beginning right here in the United States, in many, many ways to make it a better planet and a better experience for humanity, clearing out the systems of the old guard being dismantled, and the technologies that are going to be released in the coming years, the 6,500 patented technologies that have been hidden from humanity that could change the game in so many ways, for the experience, for longevity, for health, for 150 years. These amazing things are right on the verge of disclosure. And I think we're going to see a lot of that coming up beginning next year, this year, I should say, 2025, primarily as we start moving into, my guess is sometime in the fall. But there's a lot of things that are going to change. Obviously, in the health field with RFK is now going to be exposing what these companies have been doing to us for a very, very long time, slowly poisoning us, leading us to our own demise with our help. by continuing to purchase it, consume or apply different consumer products to our bodies, our lives, our environment. Doesn't matter whether it's cleaning, whether it's nutrition, whether it is baby products, whether it is skincare, anti-aging, you name it, food, beverages. They've been killing us, folks, literally on a time release process for a long time. We've got hundreds of brand name companies you all know. If you're my age, I'm 60. I grew up with so many of these companies through 6 decades of my life, and they're just companies that we all know. But as they've been captured over the course of specifically the last 25, 35 years, and they have been inculcated with toxins, neurotoxins, carcinogens, and poisons, I mean, across the entire spectrum. We've acquiesced to this machine. I call it a murder machine for a long time. And now it's becoming exposed. Primarily came to us in probably about 2018. Military intelligence showed us the truth with one of their drops. And in this particular drop of information, there were 4 lines in this drop. And it said chemicals, baby on floor, hands in mouth, the start. That's when they start to poison us. So as we have decided, you can see by the recent election and where the world's heading, Donald Trump is a hero worldwide. I can't imagine if we had a vote worldwide for this past election, because they know what he's about to finish off. He would have had billions of votes because of what is on deck for a recapture of the planet on behalf of humanity, handed over to the elements, the architecture, the people who are going to usher in the amazing human experience, the golden age, as Trump talks about. All these systems have to be refashioned, revamped, or dismantled and new ones built. But from the side of how quickly can we get there, I believe a lot of that rests on our shoulders. This is a we the people wake up and ascension mission. So my message to you tonight is this: all of our lives, we didn't know, but now we do, that they've been poisoning us. And when I saw this pie chart that shifted the balance in my mind it'd be almost 3 years ago, coming March or April. And that's how we launched what we call Operation Tomahawk. When I saw the pie chart with 11 slices of pie, and in each slice, there is a conglomeration of hundreds of companies, hundreds among all of the slices. And on the outside of each slice was this visual of all the multinational corporations that bought up these companies, one that bought up these companies. So you got Procter & Gamble, Johnson & Johnson, Unilever, Kraft, Heinz, PepsiCo, Coca-Cola, and there's others. I can't remember all of them. Nestle, maybe one, others. Conglomerated all these companies. And okay, being in the wellness industry most of my life, seen this kind of stuff, understood it. But when they showed who the 3 overlords are that control the 11, BlackRock, Vanguard, State Street, boom. The I am too busy message that I had for the folks that were kind of, painting this picture to me went from I'm just too busy, no bandwidth, to, oh, hell no. Here's what we're going to do. And boom, I just blew their hair back. We are going to launch an economic warfare platform. We're going to call it Operation Tomahawk, because we're taking a tomahawk to their blood supply, these killers, and we're going to shut off their cash flow. And the message became, as many of you know, folks, goodness gracious, we got to wake up. You got to make a decision. Are you going to keep funding these killers, or are you going to start driving your voting dollars to companies that have our best interests and our wellness in mind? Of course, that's what became a juggernaut that we unleashed in 2022, because we have a joint venture partner that we've aligned with, a multi-billion-dollar, 39-year-old company, multi-billion-dollar a year, 39-year-old company that also has, if not the largest organic beef operation in the country, one of the largest. You're talking about a $700 million operation of open range beef, cowboys, Montana, Wyoming, Idaho, Texas, Hawaii, and 450 square miles of ranch land, and 60,000 head of beef, no antibiotics, no hormones, no pens for trauma and disease, right? Everything fully integrated vertically, which means a processing plant on the ranch land where they just walk the cattle into the processing plant, minimizing the fear, the trauma, and all that. Humane food delivered to our table, and the best beef you're going to buy anywhere. So you're talking no antibiotics, no hormones, and for our alignment with this enterprise and having access to their beef operation, we have access to the highest grades of beef that there are. USDA High Choice and Prime, the two highest grades. That's what we have access to for less than half the price of Omaha steak shipped to your door. And believe me, their steaks and any of the rest of them, they don't get High Choice and Prime. You're getting the lower rung. So anyways, this is just what we've aligned with. I'm just gonna tell you what I encourage you to do. Two things. Start using your mind here and simply stop funding these killers and redirect your buying power, your voting dollars to an American company, American manufacturer, shipped right to your door from manufacturer, no middlemen, right to your door. And it's a private membership operation, and millions of people in the United States already aligned with this company. Come and check out Operation Tomahawk, see what we're doing, and make a decision. We, the people, have a responsibility to change this world, and we're going to do it by shutting off our cash flow into their coffers to continue to sell us poison and neurotoxins. So check out OperationTomahawk.com, OperationTomahawk.com. Clean up your entire environment. 550 products that you have sitting in your house right now that you're already purchasing from these killers. So now you can see what the options are. And on top of that, when you're looking at the best natural products, or even products with the best of science and nature fused together, try getting those products at any of the big box stores. Walmart, Target, 3 times the cost of their poisonous products. Here, you're getting products that have never caused a call to the Poison Control Center in nearly 40 years. Not one. It's 187,000 calls every year to the Poison Control Center, all these companies that sell us this shit. Not one in 39 years ever from this company. You need to check it out, take the responsibility, clean up your environment, because we've seen the disease rate skyrocket in the last 35 to 40 years. It's insane, but we can fix it. And this is how, OperationTomahawk.com. And that's my public service announcement here beginning 2025. Patriot Street Fighter out.
We did not engage in conflict that was out of line with our mission.
Is it disloyalty? Is it sedition? Is it treason to oppose the hands of tyranny? Never!
I will never send troops anywhere on a mission of that kind without telling them that if somebody shoots at them, they can darn well shoot back.
I know not what course others may take, but as for me, give me liberty! Oh, give me death!
A dark cloud is finally lifting across the world as U.S. military intelligence and their global partners are destroying the deep state criminal power structure that has ruled over our planet for hundreds of years.
We are free with the God-given right, and we shall not yield that right to any power on earth.
Hi, I'm Scott McKay. The world is at, and I am your host on The Tipping Point on Revolution Radio, where every Monday from 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern, we bring you the latest in this ensuing takedown of this global criminal empire.
That's an image of strength.
You'll get the raw, hard truth here on The Tipping Point. So come join us Mondays, 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern in Studio B at revolution.radio.